You know what no one tells you about when you move abroad? The guilt, the guilt, the guilt. Not the homesickness, not the culture shock, but the guilt. The guilt of leaving family behind, the guilt of chasing a dream while people back at home are still struggling, the guilt of wondering, did I abandon my community? So today, we're going to talk about the guilt no one talks about when you move abroad. Yeah, a lot of people are just out there showing Instagram photos and fronting and flossing and all that stuff. And here's something. Here's something we need to talk about. Okay. So welcome back, Expect D. Here we deep dive into life abroad, the wins, the struggles, and the truths most people don't want to say out loud. If you're thinking about moving abroad or already have, this video is for you. Okay. Because beyond the Instagram post, beyond the palm trees, and the new adventures, there's an emotional weight that comes with leaving. So let's break this thing down. Now, we'll talk about 7 layers of guilt when you move abroad. First, you got family guilt. Okay, you're on a plane, chasing opportunity. When your mom's back home aging, your siblings are raising kids, and your grandparents might not even understand why you left. So every missed birthday, every funeral you couldn't attend, it weighs heavily. This guilt comes from feeling like you're choosing yourself over your family. In many cultures, especially in Black and immigrant families, community comes before individual freedom. But moving abroad, it flips that. Okay, you pursue growth, but you carry guilt for not being present. Okay, you got number 2, you got survivor's guilt. Sometimes moving abroad feels like escaping a system everyone else is still stuck in. Okay, you see your friends back home stressed about the bills, unsafe neighborhoods, or jobs they hate. And here you are posting pictures from a beach in Mombasa or sipping coffee in Paris. It's not that your life is perfect abroad, but compared to what others are facing, you just feel guilty. You know, having an escape route. That survivor's guilt makes you downplay your wins because you don't want to look like you left people behind. I don't know how many times, I've called back home and, I feel like my conversation is just out of touch. I'm taking vacations and doing exotic things and trying exotic foods and doing this once in a lifetime stuff. And their conversations like, what'd you do? You watched the game yesterday? Did you watch the game? Or I don't know, just work, 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 just grinding, just trying to survive, trying to pay these bills, right? And we say, well, how about you? Oh, I just, cruising this beach in Thailand or riding some elephant in Kenya or it's all this exotic stuff. And I almost felt like my conversations are like out of touch with their reality. I feel a little guilty for it sometimes. All right. Now, let's look at the cultural guilt. So, another layer, okay? With cultural guilt, you worry, am I losing touch with who I am? The accent, the food, the music, the inside jokes. When you live abroad, you pick up new habits, but sometimes you feel like you're betraying your roots. And I'll tell you what, sometimes I feel like once you do this for a while, I almost feel like I could better relate to other travelers. You know, I find that when I'm in the room with other travelers, you kind of naturally understand each other. This kind of reminded me of, I was listening to an interview. This is an NBA interview. I think it was like Kevin Garnett. And he was talking about, I believe it was Kevin Garnett. he was talking about being in the locker room and kind of how, how competitive it is in the NBA and not making friends because, not being too nice to others because, you might be competing for the same spot or, you're going against each other trying to get go for a championship or something like that. And I think he had an epiphany like towards when he was going to finish his career that these were the guys that kind of his group, those that were in the NBA. Those would be the ones that would have the money to travel and that are going through similar experiences. You can relate to these people. After you retire, those would be the ones that, you'll be able to call and be like, hey, let's do this or go here, because everyone else is kind of occupied and, running the rat race and stuff like that. That's kind of how I feel about travelers. I feel like if we have conversations about, places we've been to and, places we may want to go and things like that, it's just kind of this natural connection, but sometimes when I'm talking to just people that are not travelers, I feel like my conversation can get a little bit out of touch. And I almost felt like it felt like I was rubbing it in. Just me talking about my everyday reality, of like traveling and doing this exciting stuff. I almost felt like, I'm just telling you like what's going on. Like I'm not trying to like brag, but it kind of came across like that. Their response is like, huh, must be nice. Must be nice. I'm just sitting here working overtime and you're having, these luxury cruises and vacations. Must be nice. So anyway, getting back to my point. So for Black Americans, for example, they're already, a fight to hold on to culture, inside America. So now, if you move abroad, you're kind of twice removed. So when you go back home, people might say you've changed. That hits hard because in your heart, you never stop feeling like you've belonged. Then there's a financial guilt. So this one's real. So let's say you're making good money abroad, or let me fine tune it. Let's say you're able to save good money. So that's what it's about. It's not really about the dollar signs on your check. It's about at the end of the day what you get to keep. And that can be misleading to some because you can throw some of these salaries out there in America and make half of that, even a quarter of that abroad, and you have so much ability to save, it'll put you ahead. But most people don't see that. They may look at a certain figure when looking at certain jobs abroad, be like, I'm not going to take a pay cut for that, not really seeing the bigger picture. Anyway, that's kind of a side tangent. Those that know, or if you heard what I said, you heard what I said, right? So anyway, when you live abroad, it's cheaper, okay, than in the US. Okay, then you might get that call back at home and somebody might need help. Maybe it's your cousin, the rent is late, or your parents need medical bills covered. So the expectation becomes, since you're the one who made it, right? Who made it, you should give back. Or the guilt comes when you can't meet every expectation. You start questioning, am I being selfish or keeping my money for myself, or am I allowed to enjoy the life that I built? It's a constant tug of war. Okay, let's look at number 5, layer of guilt, the friendship guilt. So when you leave, okay, friendships shift. Okay, it's kind of like the old saying, out of sight, out of mind. People who grew up might feel abandoned. Okay, you're missing out on weddings, parties, even the day-to-day small moments. And when you come back home, it feels like you're a guest in your own friend group. This out of sight, out of mind thing is real. I mean, when I go back, so many times, like when I do visit back home, it kind of goes like this. You may call your friends, even if I'm going to be back like in the States for like a month. Hey man, so you back? Okay, how long are you going to be? Oh, you're gonna be there for a month? Okay, okay, all right, we got time. All right, we gonna kick it. We gonna kick it, right? Oh, we gonna hang out. We gonna hang out. Then you might call again, and it's like, well, how long are you gonna be here? 2 weeks? 2 more weeks. Okay, 2 more weeks. All right, we still got time. We go hang. Still got time. Still got time. And then it's like, hey, how you doing, man? Hey, how long you gonna be here? Well, I'm leaving in 3 days. Oh man, 3 days. Oh man. Hey, when you gonna be out here again? Right? That's how it is. It's like you're really out of sight, out of mind. It's almost like they've become used to you being gone. That's how it goes. Let me know in the comment section how many people can relate to this when you go back home, when you travel back home, when you've lived abroad for a while. People they've moved on without you. They're used to you being gone. It was even like that when I moved away for college. So anyway, but the guilt of all this, the guilt eats you up because deep down inside, you still love these people, but the distance changes things. Sometimes you feel like you traded those bonds for a dream that only you understand. Okay, then you have number 6, you have the ancestor guilt. This one's deep. It's almost spiritual. Think about your ancestors who endured slavery, colonization, segregation. People who never had the chance to travel freely. And now you're living a life they couldn't even imagine. So the guilt comes in when you ask, am I honoring their sacrifices? Am I using my freedom the right way? Or am I just, running away from the struggle? They fought so hard to overcome. For many expats, this guilt is heavy, because freedom carries responsibility. Okay, then the last one, you have the return guilt. Okay, there's a guilt about returning. Some expats wrestle with the idea, if I go back home, am I giving up? Or if I do go back, am I abandoning my people? No matter which way you go, guilt follows. Some expats even feel judged both ways. People at home might think you're too good for them, while people abroad think you're not fully committed to your new life. So you kind of feel caught in the middle, like you don't belong anywhere. That's the guilt. I mean, here's the thing. I hear this all the time with like this added pressure. People talk about like, oh, I've been abroad for this many years, right? I think I say that too. I just say that just to explain that this is not a fly by night thing. Some people, they'll come on YouTube. They've been abroad for like 2 weeks, 2 days. And they're like, oh, my whole life has changed. Oh, I'm abroad now. I'm so excited. And it's like they haven't even gone through anything yet. So I mentioned that because I've been doing this for a while. So I've been through the ups and downs and all that stuff. But sometimes I hear people saying like, I left America and I'm not going back. I'm not going back, or I haven't been back for this long. And it's almost like this they wear it like it's a badge of honor or something. And it's nothing wrong. Like you don't have to like burn your bridge when you travel abroad. You don't have to burn your bridge. It's okay that you're out of the country. You don't have to like, burn your passport and renounce your citizenship and all this stuff, man. So, but a lot of times, I don't know, there's this pressure of like, some of us have even taken on like leaving the country as if it's like some type of identity. And it doesn't have to be that deep. But there is kind of that stuck in the middle guilt of like, if you go home, you feel like you're a loser, like you didn't make it. And then if you're abroad, it's almost the same thing. You almost feel like people are calling you a loser, like you didn't make it. That's why you went abroad. So you're kind of stuck in the middle, and that's hard. That's a hard thing to shake. Yeah. So anyway, let me know what you think. So basically the truth is, guilt is a price of growth. You know, moving abroad is about expansion, but expansion always comes with tension. You know, you can't be everywhere at once. You can't fix everything back at home. And you can't live fully abroad if you're constantly apologizing for it. So the key is reframing guilt into purpose. Instead of feeling guilty, you honor your roots by building something meaningful. You know, you stay connected. You send love, money, or time when you can. And when you forgive yourself for choosing a path that allows you to thrive. Yeah, forgive yourself. There's nothing wrong with choosing that life. Yeah. So yeah, the guilt is real, but also the proof that you care. You know, proof that you love where you come from, even while chasing where you're going. So the trick isn't to erase the guilt, it's to live with it, to grow from it and to turn it into motivation. So hey, if this hits home, let me know in the comment section. Which guilt have you felt the most? Family guilt, survivor's guilt, or maybe cultural guilt? And if you haven't moved abroad yet, which of these things do you think you'd struggle with? And hey guys, don't forget to like and share and subscribe to Expat D for more real talk about life abroad. Okay? The side no one else is telling you. So until next time, stay inspired, stay global, and let's keep exploring. Okay? I'm Expat D. Thanks a lot for spending time with me. I'm so glad that we're building this community. I've got over 2,000 subscribers now. This thing is moving at a very nice pace. I've got some really cool projects coming up. The more this channel grows, the more you guys can follow me, and I can travel and show you different things, tips, tricks, strategies, maybe scope out some places that you may want to live. All right, so we're going to end it here. I'm Expat D. Peace and I'm out.